his knowledge and his understanding of township.
This is going on and on and on. Let's find out what exactly we're talking about, the list.
They all have it.
May I have a
They
copy?
have it.
May I have a copy? I've never had a copy. And really,
I have a copy of the email if Carol would like to make copies of it and distribute it.
I'm just tired of us dancing around this list.
What do you want?
Whenever we talk about the list, what is the list? I would like to know what it
that's
is
what
that
I
we're
want to
talking
know.
about.
What are you hollering about?
I mean, you say you never wrote or never said anything about a list, you don't know anything about it.
I said.
Arthur doesn't know anything about it, although he was a supervisor at the time, and all the supervisors, including myself and Garth, were informed of this list.
I have
And
never got
I
the
didn't say you
list.
got a list. I said you were informed of the list and what was
I
on it.
never got one.
Well, but you knew what was on it. Don't be acting
No,
like
I
you're looking
didn't
at it
know
for the
what was
first
on
time,
it.
because it's not the first time you saw that list.
This is the first time I had this list in my hand.
Well, I believe that.
Okay, what do you want, Mr. Boyd?
I want to know what is on the list once and for all,
You
so
have
we
the
can
list.
talk about. I have the list, yes, but these people here in the audience don't know what we're talking about. We keep talking back and forth about the list. You wrote the list, so if you wrote it, you should be upfront and say what was on the list.
The list was intended for a private conversation with the zoning officer to gauge his understanding of the township zoning ordinance.
And from that, you decided he was not competent. You told me that specifically.
I don't recall that, but you.
Well, you may not recall it, but you told me you judged him to be insufficiently experienced. So anyways, let's find out what was on the list. Are you afraid to tell us what was on the list?
The list has nothing to do with whether or not.
Why don't you read the list so we know? For goodness sakes, this is an open session.
Well, no.
This is a public meeting.
I'm gonna ask the legal counsel. Please do that.
It's a document that has been given to the newspaper. I don't see there's any reason why it can't be.
I only-
But the issue is that the board wants to proceed with looking into anything regarding what was discussed back in December of 2015. If you don't, then, I mean, that's up to you, fellas, and what you want to do.
I think I made it clear that the list was never intended to be a complaint list. Our ordinance is specific how complaints should be handled, and it was not handled that way. It never
But you
was.
gave it to Quinn,
And
with the whole intention, and you told me this, of showing how little he knew about the zoning.
You weren't
Arthur
there.
has told
You
us-
weren't there.
Arthur has told us, oh, you told me this.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
You
yes,
weren't
you
there.
did,
You
when I was
weren't
at
there.
breakfast with you,
You
you
weren't
told me
there.
that.
You weren't
Arthur,
there.
you have said over and over again, you could go into almost any property and find violations.
Except some of the new developments.
Okay, so we know there's a lot of violations out there. Now, you picked out 10 violations that you felt were important. And I can give you an example. The big growth sign up on 625 when there's no business there. Why is this large sign there? That was one of the that's a violation.
Is it? What part? Tell me where in our ordinance it's a
Under
violation.
the sign
I
ordinance.
don't know.
Under the sign
I don't
ordinance.
know.
But you know.
You
But
don't
you
know.
thought it was a violation and you told Quinn that.
I didn't know.
For goodness sake, let's find out what is
Do
the
you want,
list.
do you want me to read the letter?
Please.
No. I'll read the letter. Yeah, you said, look, I met with Quinn, and I mentioned Ridge Builders had a contractor sign sitting out in the middle of Five Point Hill. And his email is not correct. I never asked him if a permit was approved for a sign. It does not require a permit. I asked Quinn if there was a permit on the building there. They were doing work. He didn't know. I said, what about gross construction sign? He didn't know. I said, you understand non-conforming uses? He said, like what? I said, goods mill. He didn't know.
What's wrong with Goods Mill?
Nothing.
What does it say?
It was a conversation
But what does
piece.
it say there?
It says nothing.
Yes, it does say
It
something.
said Good Mill is considered a non-conforming use, but only to sell feed.
That's-
Over the years,
that-
they have
and you-
expanded
that
their
is-
non-conformity. No other product should be sold at the mill, including
That is
firewood
not
or
on this
animal
list. That
hutches.
is not on this list.
It was part of the conversation,
I had
obviously.
I had nothing to, no, it wasn't, and you weren't there. Okay, let me continue. Brecknock Orchard, I wish Quinn was here, that's the problem.
Well, we fired him.
We didn't find him, anyway. Brecknock Orchard, I've never been there. I said to Quinn, what do they do there? He said, well, you don't know. They do retail sales. I said, Meadow Valley Builders, I said, what's their address? He didn't know, which I thought was probably non-conforming. New Frontier Builders, I said, what's their address of operation? He said he didn't know. I said, well, it's probably non-conforming. I don't know if these are violations or not. I said, Tropsel minimal distance interior, 50 feet in an ag district. He didn't know. Old Ferris Hurst property, there's tractors sitting out. He said they're working at getting them moved over. Weaver's Store, end of year sale, has nothing to do with zoning. Absolutely nothing to do with zoning. I said, they have enough exits for the occupancy load they get on their New Year's Eve sale. He didn't know. The whole meeting was less than 10 minutes.
That's expanded on the conversation on Weaver's Store. I can fully expect that Quinn Holler didn't make up these things about Meadow Valley Builders. Both are considered non-conforming uses. However, both have grown in the last few years, and both locations operate as full businesses. Workers report to the site to begin and end their workdays. Neither business should be allowed to continue to operate as a non-conforming use. Can't imagine that the zoning officer made that up.
Someone said he went back and talked to his staff, and they put together their comments on it. We did not talk about that when I met with him.
And since he's not here,
I wish he was.
but the things show up on the list,
But the list has existed since December, and for the Board of Supervisors to deny that the list ever existed until Mr. Cassidy said, yes, it has been released to the newspaper under the Sunshine Law, and that is, the newspaper requested it, so he agreed to release it. You could have responded in January and said, the list does exist, here it is, there's no issues.
I'm tired of hearing your opinion, your speculation. The reason the list was released, because it was not considered an ongoing investigation into any violations. And Mr. Cassidy can vouch for this. The email was not considered a determination of zoning violations, so it was not covered. Otherwise, it would have been exempt from being released. Can you explain a little bit of that?
Well, in public record, there are certain exemptions to it, but I mean,
The ongoing investigations.
they were released to the newspaper. Both of those items were released to the newspaper.
because it was a public document.
No.
No,
We released it because we.
this back in the book.
Don't you
take it
released
away
it
from me
because
without
of the
one.
Freedom of Information Act. The newspaper requested it.
Investigations by a zoning officer into zoning violations are exempt from the open records clause.
Well, there was no investigation.
You're right, there was none. That's what I'm saying.
Those were what you considered to be violations. They weren't violations yet because there had been no investigation.
There had been
But you considered them to be violations. Just like the sign in front of your house was a violation because somebody complained. If nobody complains, it's like if you don't stink, don't stir it, you know? But as soon as someone complains, then an investigation has to be taken.
Our zoning ordinance makes it very clear about complaints regarding violations. The zoning officer, when in receipt of a signed written complaint, fully stating the cause and the basis thereof, shall investigate alleged violations of this zoning chapter. If a written complaint is received, such investigation shall be completed, and a written report of all alleged violations of this zoning chapter shall be prepared and properly filed. This email does not constitute any written report of alleged violations of this zoning chapter.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
But if there was, all I'm asking, is now our new zoning officer going to investigate these things?
I said the board has not received any filed complaints. No.
Oh, if it don't stink, don't stir it. But you stirred it.
I didn't stir it.
Yes, you did stir it when you made that list. You stirred the shit. You said, this is wrong. That's what you were saying.
I repeat, if someone thinks that list represents violations, then you don't have to come to the board, meet with the zoning officer, and express those violations, and they'll look into it.
Look, since you gave the former zoning officer this list, will you give the present zoning officer the same list so he can investigate these? You complained.
I didn't complain.
Well, yeah, when you wrote it down and gave it to the zoning officer, that was a complaint.
It
That-
wasn't a complaint.
Will the new zoning, just give me an answer.
No.
The new
no.
zoning officer won't look at this stuff.
I'm not filing any complaints on anything.
So what you're saying, you won't give the list to the new zoning officer?
No, I won't. I have no intention.
Then why
of.
did you give it to the former zoning
I
officer?
didn't give it to the former zoning officer to file a complaint.
You
No,
gave it to him for what reason?
I said it was a topic conversation.
You gave it
To
to
gauge his level of understanding of the
gauge his
code.
level of understanding.
Yes.